Welcome to Toastmaster Time, the show that's got everybody talking. I'm Justin Paris, and I'm excited to be your host for tonight's episode. Just like in a regular Toastmasters meeting, we're going to have prepared speeches, and then we're going to evaluate them. The evaluations are designed to help the speakers improve by giving them feedback that's positive, constructive, and overall encouraging. Our evaluator tonight is Michelle Peticolis. Michelle, share with us what's in store for tonight's episode.
Hi, Justin. We actually have a pretty interesting show tonight. Two speakers, one talking about life transformation, uprooting from one country and moving to another one. The other one about survival, surviving the team building exercises at the President's Club. Back to you, Justin.
Awesome, Michelle. I'm so excited for tonight's episode. Our first speaker is Gagan Bhati from Speaker Forum. Gagan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So tell us, how did you get into Toastmasters?
I joined Toastmasters in 2010. I was part of Hewlett-Packard back then, and one of the colleagues invited me to a Toastmasters meeting. I was a nervous speaker, and I thought that the Toastmasters would help me improve my public speaking skills. So I had that little intuition, and I can certainly tell you now that my intuition was right.
That is awesome. Thank you for sharing that with us. Of all the roles in a Toastmasters meeting, which one would you say is your favorite?
I like being an evaluator, and because I'm working on my listening skills, active listening skills, the evaluation role helps me to listen more deeply and really understand what the speaker is saying and the gestures and look at their body. So it helps me listen better. And that's what my favorite role is in Toastmasters.
I agree with you on that one. Finally, how has Toastmasters helped you outside of Toastmasters?
Toastmasters definitely helped me in both professional setting as well as my personal setting. Professionally, I'm a product marketeer, and I get involved into many high-stake discussions. And Toastmasters has given me confidence and tools to handle those situations more effectively.
Great. So you ready to give your speech?
I am ready, Justin.
All right, so go ahead and head over to the stage, and I'm going to share with the audience details about your project. Gagan is working on the dynamic leadership pathway. His project is Level 1, Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language. The title of his speech is Echoes of Chotu. Gagan Bhati, Echoes of Chotu, Echoes of Chotu, Gagan Bhati.
Imagine a squiggly, worm-like creature inside a shell, eating itself alive, dissolving and digesting its own tissues. This isn't a scene from a sci-fi thriller. It's a harrowing saga of a caterpillar's metamorphosis. When a caterpillar receives a signal of transformation, it steps outside of its cocoon, forms a chrysalis where it literally eats itself and dies to become a magnificent butterfly. Fellow Transformers, have you ever felt a pulse of a new beginning throbbing within you? I have, many times. Let me take you to my childhood in India. I grew up as a shy young boy whose friend was a caterpillar. I called him Chotu, which in my native language translates to small or tiny. I connected with Chotu because that's exactly how I felt from inside. Small, insignificant, a background character in the grand cinema of life. While other critics boldly prepared to take on the world by advancing their academic and athletic skills, I was mastering the art of invisibility, hiding in the shadowy corners, having my one-sided conversation with Chotu. I would tell him, Chotu, God didn't give me any talent. I am not smart. I am not strong. And he never interrupted, never judged, just listened. Little did I know then, my one-sided conversation with Chotu would become the narrative of my life. Chotu, my silent listener, became my inner naysayer. I had several opportunities. I had that pulse of growth. But every time, the echoes of Chotu. You are not smart. You are not strong. You don't have talent. So I stayed inside my cocoon. As I grew up, I left Chotu, but he didn't leave me. After graduation, I came to the United States and I started my career as an engineer. But soon, I got passionate about marketing. But here he was again, telling me, I lack charisma. I don't have any talent. I'm not strong. And oh, by the way, Indian people don't make good marketeers. So I stayed inside my cocoon. A few years later, I became father of a beautiful daughter, Amishi. I fell in love with her. I wanted the world for her. So I enrolled her in dance, piano, karate. You know, the entire Asian curriculum of extracurricular activities. She showed passion for swimming, so I enrolled her in a swimming competition. On the eve of the competition, Amishi came, say, Daddy, I don't want to compete. I'm not fast. Say, Amishi, what are you talking about? You are so good. But I am scared. Have you ever been scared? How did you deal with the fear? Oh boy. I stood there in silence. I felt like a fraud, felt like an imposter, an unqualified dad. Another pulse of new beginning. And this time, I decided to act, to become role model, a better role model for my daughter, Mishi. I formed my chrysalis in Toastmasters, where I began to eat my fear of public speaking. As the doubts and apprehensions dissolved, new pair of eyes emerged, giving me a new perspective. Habits such as meditation, journaling, long walks became the foundation of my new life. And as I transformed, my inner Chotu unfurled into a butterfly and flew away. Now there was no holding me back. I switched my career and became product marketeer. I trained for a half marathon and I completed it. And today, I'm here for the very first time on this Toastmasters Time TV with this wonderful setup and wonderful crew, and I'm loving every single second of this. My friends, are you feeling the pulse of a new beginning throbbing within you? Maybe you want to start a new career. Maybe you want to write a book or explore the world. Who's your Chotu that's holding you back? As we all know, the caterpillar has to die to become the butterfly. So friend, I urge all of us today that release our Chotu, unfurl our wings, and become the magnificent being that we are meant to be.
Thank you, Gagan, for sharing your inspiring story with us here tonight. Michelle, please share your thoughts with us on Gagan's speech.
Gagan, that was an amazing opening image about that worm that had to eat itself alive, like a science fiction movie. That was such a great, engaging performance. And then you proceeded to compare yourself to this worm, and your vocal variety, your body language was riveting. I love the way you did all these gestures. You talked to your little worm friend, your caterpillar, in your hand, and you used your gestures to express all the things that you went through. Really great use of body language. If I had any kind of suggestion, I would say, let's hear the voice of Chotu and let him talk when he's talking in your head instead of just telling us what your head was saying. I think that would be funny. But you have great humor too. You mentioned a few things that were funny, like the things that you engaged your daughter in that were the standard things that people in your country do to prepare their children. And I love the part where you talked about how your daughter asked you, how do you deal with your fear? That's another place where you could have stretched it a little bit more and gave her more of a distinctive voice. But your body language was excellent, and just a little bit of tweaking on the vocal variety, and you have got it. And what a great speech. Definitely a speech for the World Championship of Public Speaking. Back to you, Justin.
Thank you, Michelle, for that evaluation of Gagan's speech. We'll circle back with you after our next speaker. Our next speaker is Barbara Gross from Heart2Heart Toastmasters. Barbara, welcome to Toastmaster time.
Thank you.
So tell us, how did you get into Toastmasters?
A company I was working for thought Toastmasters was so worthwhile that we started our own club called Abby Talk.
Awesome. Now, there's a lot of roles in the Toastmasters meeting. There's the speaker role, evaluator, table topics master. Of all the roles, which would you say is your current favorite?
Speaker, hands down.
And why is that?
I love telling stories.
Awesome, and I'm sure you've got a good one for us here tonight.
I do.
So before we have you get ready, share with us, how has Toastmasters helped you in your life?
It's made me a more confident speaker, and I enjoy it more and more as I do it.
Awesome. So you ready to rock out your speech?
I am.
All right, go ahead and get set up while I share with the audience your speech objectives here today.
Okay.
Barbara is working on the engaging humor pathway. Her project is Level 2, Connect with Your Audience. The title of her speech is President's Club. Barbara Gross, President's Club. President's Club, Barbara Gross.
I worked for a few companies that like to reward their employees for overachievement in their field with President's Club. I was lucky enough to attend these events, and it consisted of dinners, award ceremonies, and team building exercises. However, I wasn't privy to the list of activities in advance. I'm going to share a few stories with you. The first one is a winter resort in Vermont. After the first dinner, we were told to meet at the bottom of the mountain in a half hour for tubing. I showed up with what I was wearing at dinner, a fabulous beret, a cashmere scarf, wonderful earrings, and high-heeled leather boots. When everybody saw me, they say, "Why didn't you change your clothes?" I said, "Oh, what's tubing anyway?" I wasn't paying attention. We got on the ski lift, but we didn't have any skis. When we got to the top of the mountain, we were instructed that one by one, we would go face down on this inner tube, put your stomach in the empty hole, and then push yourself off onto this icy slide. This was so frightening to me, I didn't want to do it. They said, "Barbara, everybody's doing it, and you're going to have a great time." Well, I said, the only way I can do this is if somebody pushes me off to the slide. And so they did. They pushed me and I went spinning and I banged on one side and then I'm spinning and banged on the other side and I'm screaming, just hoping I don't die before I get to the end of this. And sure enough, I lived to tell the tale. It was after everybody was finished that they told me I had the fastest woman's time. I said, of course I did. It was the aerodynamics of having my legs sticking up in the air with my high heel boots. You made fun of my outfit, but I showed you. The next event was that we would have to show up at an outdoor ice skating rink. Okay, I've skated before. I'm not the best, but I'll give it a try. Once we got there, we weren't given any skates, and we were told we're going to play hockey. Number one, I've never played hockey. And number two, have you ever started running on ice with sneakers? Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I was black and blue over my entire body. Event number 3, it was a resort in Puerto Rico. The bus driver picks us up at the airport and he takes us on the bus ride to the resort. Halfway through getting there, bus driver pulls over next to a phone booth and he makes a call. So we're thinking something must be wrong with the bus. But about 5 minutes later, he gets back on the bus. We continue on our journey and we get to the resort safe and sound. It was only until later I found out what the bus driver stopped and called about. He was calling his bookie to make a bet on a horse race. I mean, that's a man with a mission. Now, one of the first events in Puerto Rico was going to be kayak racing. We were broken up into 2 teams. I've never kayaked before. The lifeguard showed us a little bit how to paddle. I thought I could do this. It looked pretty straightforward. I got in the kayak and I'm paddling and I'm thinking I'm doing pretty good. And then I needed to turn to get around the buoy to come back. I tried turning, and all I could do was I kept going out to sea. Everybody's screaming at me, Barbara, come back, come back. Well, I know, it's not like I don't know I have to turn around, but I couldn't do it. So finally, they had to send the lifeguard out to get me. Once I was back on shore, I said, okay, I did it. I don't have to do it again. But no, they wanted the losing team to go out again. Yep, that's my team. I thought, this time I'm going to show them. I got in the kayak when it was my turn, and I started paddling and paddling. When it came time to the turn, I started to turn, and then I got stuck on the buoy. As much as I tried to get away from the buoy and turn to go back, I couldn't do it. They're screaming at me again, and then finally they had to send the lifeguard out to get me. Once I got back on shore, they accused me of doing it on purpose because the lifeguard was cute. Okay, I admit it. The lifeguard was cute, but I didn't do it on purpose. What was given to me at the last award ceremony was, in addition to the trophy, I was given a postcard with a very cute lifeguard on the front. And on the back of the postcard was written, Dear Barbara, meet me at my cabana at 9 o'clock tonight. What I've learned with the 3 events above is that always be your authentic self. If you can just be your authentic self, and if you don't first succeed, try and try again. And if you can do it with a smile and a little laughter, it'll make learning and living so much fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, for for sharing those 3 entertaining stories with all of us here. So Michelle, share with the audience your thoughts on Barbara's speech.
First of all, I think Barbara completely succeeded at her objective, which was to engage the audience. Considering she doesn't even get to see her audience, she definitely used vocal variety and body language and facial expression to grab the audience. And when you have cameras like we have here in the studio, they do close-ups, and her face is so expressive of what she's going through. So she really brings to life her story. I really appreciated that. And if she could do any sort of improvement, I would work a little bit on her opening and her closing. The stuff in between is fabulous. Great stories, humorous stories. But the opening could be a little more grabbing. Instead of just giving us a background about the President's Club, to start out maybe with a question about, have you ever been in a situation where you're suddenly called upon to do something that you had no idea what it was going to be about, and you kind of got in trouble? And then in the ending, I did sort of like her ending, which is to just be yourself and flow with whatever is happening. Overall, great speech and very entertaining.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for that feedback and for being our evaluator for today's meeting. So just some general questions for you, for people who might be interested in trying out a role here in the studio, maybe being an evaluator. What would you say for people who think this might be a little bit outside of their comfort zone, but are thinking about checking out the studio? What would you say to them?
Well, they should definitely come and check it out, but they also should think about what Gagan said about the little worm and the little worm in our head, Chotu, Chotu, and talk that worm into becoming a butterfly and try it out. Or, like Barbara said, just flow with it and see what happens.
Perfect. Now, you're obviously an experienced evaluator. If somebody's out there and they're going to be in a position, let's say tomorrow, to provide feedback for somebody, it could be a fellow employee or a subordinate, what feedback tips would you have for somebody who's looking to provide feedback in an effective manner?
Well, this is really important. The sandwich method. Always start by what you liked in the speech. Always start with that. Then talk about a few things that they could do to improve it. Not that they did wrong, but that they could make it better. And then circle back and say what you thought about the speech and what you liked about the speech. So it's a sandwich. One end positive, the other end positive, in between some stretch goals.
Awesome. Now, I'm sure there's viewers out there who are new to this idea of Toastmasters, and they're thinking about checking out a club. What advice would you give for somebody who is not confident in their public speaking or leadership skills, but they're a little afraid to check out a Toastmasters club?
There are all kinds of Toastmasters clubs. What I would say is first go to a club that's nearby, because if it's far away, you're not going to go. So you want to find a club that is easy and fits with your schedule. Then check it out. Check out a few and see which one feels the safest and the friendliest, ones that really reach out and connect and resonate with you. And also, you want to have a club that has some skilled speakers so that you can learn.
Awesome. So we've got time for one more question.
All right.
You've been a dedicated Toastmaster for a long time. What keeps you working on your communication and leadership skills?
Toastmasters keeps me working on my leadership and communication skills. There's always opportunity. And if you're a doer like me, I'm a target for people who need help. And I like to help people out, and I like to have things work out well. So I always have tons of things that are opportunities to grow.
Well, we're very fortunate to have you, and if I ever need somebody, I know where to reach out.
Uh-oh.
All right. So that concludes this episode of Toastmaster Time. I want to thank you for watching. Toastmaster Time is filmed in the San Francisco Bay Area. For more information, you can check out toastmastertime.com. Toastmaster Time is sponsored by District 57 Toastmasters. For more information on District 57, you can visit d57tm.org. And for general information on Toastmasters, including where you can find a club near you, be sure to check out Toastmasters.org. I want to thank the wonderful staff and volunteers here at the Palo Alto Media Center, and thank our speakers, Gagan and Barbara, for sharing their speeches with us here today. And a special thank you to our speech evaluator, Michelle Pedicolis. From all of us at Toastmaster Time, I want to encourage you to join Toastmasters and to keep on talking.